Hi children, welcome to our class. Class 6 Subject Science, Chapter 6 Habitat. Now let us study some habitats more closely. Today we are going to learn the topic is pond as a habitat. There are several organisms in a pond. To study them more closely, we need to see the different regions in the pond where communities of some organisms are present. Which animals and plants do you think would live on the surface of the pond? Which animals and plants do you think would live in mid-water? Which animals and plants do you think would live in the pond margins? Which animals and plants do you think would live at the bottom of the pond? Some of the living organisms living above the surface. In the pond, we find that different organisms live in different regions. This is due to some conditions like availability of different amounts of food, air, light, etc. We find some organisms living above the surface. We find organisms like dragonfly, mayfly and kingfisher living above the surface. That is, hovering above the pond and then resting over a bamboo pole or a stick jutting out of the surface of the pond. They get food from the surface of the pond. Some of the organisms live on the surface. Organisms like snail, whirling beetle and pond skater live on the surface. The larvae of mayfly and dragonfly also live on the surface of the pond. Plants like pistia float on the surface completely, while those like the lotus have roots going deep under. On the surface, organisms are easily eaten up by others because there is a little protection for them. However, there is a plenty of food and air, and this is why fish usually come to the surface to feed. Some of the organisms live in mid-water. Great water boatman, leech and mosquito larvae are found in mid-water. Fish and crabs also swim around this region. Pond margins. Pond margins have several grasses, frogs, cranes and crabs, etc. Fish usually lay eggs here. The bottom of the pond has plants like hydrilla and animals like mussels, flatworms and some maggots, larvae of some insects like fly. Light is minimum here, but food in the form of dead and decaying matter is in plenty. Thank you, my dear children.